We all know the five senses and how crucial they are to everyday life. Well, those same senses also apply in horror movies, obviously, and there are some horror movies that base the entire premise of the film on one or multiple senses. This list here is going to be 9 horror movies that are centered around at least one of the 5 senses, and how they can affect thinking and mindset of the characters. There won't be any spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen a movie and think it sounds interesting, you can go watch it with knowing the plot, but not how the movie ends. I will put the timestamps for every movie in the description below, along with any streaming services the movies are offered on if they are. With that being said, here we go. Number 9. Don't Breathe. 2016. In this thriller, 3 burglars find out about a blind army vet living on an abandoned street in the bad parts of Detroit, sitting on a huge amount of cash that has been made public. The 3 burglars break their rule of not stealing cash and decide to rob the place, thinking it would be a piece of cake. And of course it isn't. The blind army vet isn't as helpless as they had hoped for. There is a reason that the blind man was in the army, and wouldn't be surprised if he was actually special forces. But we are never told that or not. Once the burglars get inside the house, the old man awakes and has caught the 3 criminals red-handed in his living room and wants them out of his house immediately, and not only because of the money he has hidden. The old man is hiding dark secrets in the basement of his house that he doesn't want anyone to ever find out. The 3 burglars will have to find a way to escape the house before the sightless old man can catch them and kill them. The movie does a great job at building suspense all throughout, even with some twists and turns mixed in. The film incorporates the sight sense very well with its intriguing premise, and this is one you should definitely check out if you haven't seen it. Number 8. The Silence Sound. 2019. When a group of cave explorers accidentally unleashes a dangerous species of blind flying creatures called vesps, everyone on the planet will soon be in danger. The vesps hunt by sound as they cannot see, but their hearing is so sensitive, they can almost hear any sort of sound you make at any pitch. Hugh Andrews, played by Stanley Tucci, must protect his family, including his daughter Ally, who suffers from acute deafness, and needs to communicate in sign language, which comes in handy since the terrifying flying beasts react most forcefully to sound. He decides to try moving his family out into the countryside, hoping they can get away from the dangerous, human-eating bat-like creatures, but obviously the plan will backfire as it's a movie, of course. The movie takes the time to develop the characters, and the vests actually are creepy creatures that I wouldn't want to deal with in real life. If you like creature feature movies, this one would be perfect for you. Also makes you wonder how you would react if you were put in a similar life or death situation. Number 7. Bird Box Sight. 2018. Ever seen the movie The Happening with Mark Wahlberg? Well, Bird Box is like that, except it actually has a great story, competent cast, great cinematography, and an incredible payoff. Okay, scratch that, it's nothing like The Happening now that I think about it. It tells the story of a pregnant woman trying to survive during a global incident which is causing people to show erratic, psychotic, and harmful behavior. It's a fantastically crafted little horror starring Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich, 2 veterans who aren't exactly known for this genre. The plot mainly follows Sandra Bullock's character, Mallory, who learned of a sanctuary on the other side of town where her and her children would be safe. The catch is, they can't look at the monsters that are outside or they will die. Mallory and both of her children have to wear blindfolds, so that is going to make the journey even more difficult for the family. But she feels it's the only way for her children to survive. The story is a roller coaster ride with multiple emotional and psychological levels when you stop and really think about what you're watching. Deep, meaningful, well written, and looks amazing. Definitely recommend this Netflix original to watch this weekend. Number 6. Fresh Taste. 2022. Fresh tells the story of 23-year-old Noah, played by Daisy Edgar-Jones, trying to navigate the modern dating world, and she is not having much luck at all. After a disappointing dating experience, she happens upon the charming, charismatic, seemingly harmless Steve, played by Sebastian Stan, who takes her on a holiday to his fortress-like summer home very early in their relationship, as they are wasting no time getting close with one another. While at his summer home, in a wild twist or fate, he holds her and several other women captive in a dungeon-like basement in order to harvest their flesh to sell to rich male consumers. Apparently, human meat is quite delicious and also costs an extremely pretty penny to sell, so Steve uses it as a side gig to get filthy rich. But he also loves the taste himself. Noah, trying anything to break free, fakes liking the taste of human meat so Steve will look at her like a girlfriend and not a prisoner any longer. The movie does a great job at building up the story to have an insane, brutal, impactful revelation. If you can get past the part where you see humans cooking and eating human meat, you should check this one out. Number 5. A Quiet Place Sound. 2018. The story of the young Abbott family is told starting on day 89 of their ordeal. Unaware if anyone else on Earth is still alive besides them, they have to remain as silent as possible under most circumstances, which means no speaking at all, to evade deadly and seemingly indestructible armored creatures which track their targets solely by sound and which have led to the Abbotts' solitary existence. This existence is made all the more difficult for eldest offspring Reagan in being deaf and thus unable to gauge the issue of sound, which is why father, Lee, is constantly trying to devise ways to upgrade her cochlear implant if only for her survival. Under these circumstances, the family tries as best it can to lead as normal a life as possible with devised safeguards to protect them despite anything that may happen to them potentially to throw them off this routine of mock normalcy and survival. Through this ordeal, they also try to learn as much as they can about the creatures in the hope of someday being able to destroy them to regain their lives. For parents Lee and Evelyn, the first priority is protecting the children at all costs, which the children may not always see or understand, especially concerning the Day 89 incident. This film is a must-watch with scary monsters and great acting, and then also has an amazing score. Highly recommend. Number 4. A Quiet Place Part 2 Sound. 2020. Obviously, this is the sequel to the prior entry on this list, and the premise is basically the same with the same actors and the same story being continued. With the newly acquired knowledge of the seemingly invulnerable creature's weakness, grief-stricken Evelyn Abbott finds herself on her own, with her 2 young teens, a defenseless newborn son, and with no place to hide. Now, 474 days after the all-out alien attack in the first movie, the Abbotts summon up every last ounce of courage to leave their now burned-to-the-ground farm and embark on a dangerous quest to find civilization. With this in mind, determined to expand beyond the boundaries, the resilient survivors have no other choice but to venture into eerily quiet, uncharted hostile territory, hoping for a miracle. But this time, the enemy is everywhere. With Emily Blunt's compelling portrayal of the determined mother, John Krasinski's direction, and Cillian Murphy's impactful presence, A Quiet Place Part 2 delivers a gripping and immersive cinematic experience that is sure to leave audiences on the edge of their seats. Also, the monsters are much more prevalent in this movie and get a ton of on-screen runtime. Number 3. Hush Sound. 2016. Maddie Young, a deaf-mute horror author, has decided to live alone in an isolated cottage in the woods, far from the commotion of the city. One night where she is sitting at home all by herself, a terrifying mask-wearing attacker breaks onto her property, turning her calm existence into a nightmare. Maddie is unaware of how vulnerable she is due to her inability to hear or talk, which makes her the ideal victim for this persistent intruder. In a terrible struggle for her life as the tension mounts, Maddie is left to use her cunning and scant supplies to elude her unrelenting assailant. Her tenacity and creativity are put to the test on a heart-pounding basis at every turn. If you enjoy home invasion films, this movie will be perfect for you because it puts you in Maddie's shoes and wants you to think exactly what you would do in that situation, and if Maddie is making any bad mistakes or not. The film also incorporates Maddie's horror book writing style into the film, as well as she is able to make some spur-of-the-moment decisions that you wouldn't probably think of as fast as she does. The acting is great from both leads and the tension is there throughout the whole movie. Give it a watch if you haven't already. Number 2. The Invisible Man's Sight. 2020. What would you do if your abusive ex figured out a way to stalk you without fear of being discovered? That's the conceit at the center of The Invisible Man, a nail-biting thriller that has more on its mind than providing simple thrills. Starring Elizabeth Moss as Cecilia Cass, a woman who is rendered helpless in the face of an invisible evil, director Lee Whannell spins H.G. Wells' classic science fiction novel of the same name into a timely and provocative exploration of psychological abuse. Having escaped from a controlling relationship, Cecilia's rehabilitation is cut short by the sudden intrusion of her ex, who has figured out how to regain control over her life without anyone knowing by becoming invisible. Expertly utilizing sci-fi trappings to take gaslighting to a whole new extreme, the film depicts firsthand the anxieties faced by many modern-day survivors of abuse. As Cecilia stresses to those around her that her genius scientist ex has become invisible, we are left conflicted by knowing the truth of her words, but also the understanding that, without hard evidence, it's hard to accept her story at face value. Cecilia will have to go through the whole film feeling like she is being followed by a dead man she can't see, and the film will build up great tension to the exciting climax where everything is revealed. Number 1. The Green Inferno Taste. 2013. In an Eli Roth traditional gory horror, Justine, a college freshman, becomes interested in a social activism group led by Alejandro and his girlfriend Kara. The group plans a trip to the Amazon rainforest to stop a company from logging and obliterating ancient native tribes there. The goal is to film the logging crews with cell phones and stream footage to raise awareness. When they get to Amazon to conduct their strike, it goes well and they get accomplished what they set out to do. But whenever they get on the plane to head back to the States, the plane crashes in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. They are then captured by a local indigenous tribe and held as prisoners in one of their tribe cells. The catch? The tribe, ironically, is one of the tribes that they were fighting to keep their land, and the tribe is also a human meat-eating tribe. The tribe captured the students to cook and eat for their meals. As the movie goes by, the students start one by one getting picked to be the next meal, and if Justine doesn't find a way to escape, she's going to be a roasted pig. This is one of those films that if you like it, and if you don't, you absolutely hate it. Well, that is it for this one, friends. Thanks for watching.